Albrecht. So I'm going to show you how to use your swatches of paint, make little mixes into them to get the right color and apply it onto our canvas. Okay, so our canvas is here. I have a nice gray canvas. You don't really see any of the canvas peeping through. It's a smooth surface, so make sure yours is smooth, not a lot of ridges from the paintbrush. And then I transferred the image, and I have all these little sections here. And that's going to be very important to be able to make your portrait look 3D on a 2D surface. So here's my paints that I had before that I mixed with the palette knife. So these are close, but obviously they're not exactly like the photograph. But that's okay. We're just trying to get close, and we're going to be using this whole separate area here to mix more paint to get more accurate paint colors. Because you can't just get it perfectly accurate with those. But they're great to add, to use as a base for some other mixtures. Again, we're still using the same three colors, yellow ochre, cad red light, and black, and adding white. And we'll be using these grays as modifiers to lighten or darken them, not using white or black. And oops, I just noticed this was here. Let's put that here. And so you see we're going to need a lot of mixing space. So if you have just little tiny sheets of gray paper, you might want to get the big ones or have two big glass sheets. I actually prefer the gray paper, and you can reuse them by cleaning them afterwards and using wet wipes on them. You can get a lot of use out of each one, but we will need a lot of mixing space. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is here on our pre-mix palette, I have a lot of nice fresh paint. And I have a bunch of dark colors. We're going to start off with the darkest dark, and that's going to be her hair. So we are now going to switch from palette knife to brushes. So I have a range of brushes. I have a 6 long flat and about a 4, and here's a 4 filbert. So these are going to be our main brushes that we're going to be using. You can use a little bit bigger of a brush for the background as well. You can have filberts or flats. Either one is fine. I'd stay away from any shorter brush, any pointy brush. We want nice flat shapes for our painting. If you use too small of a brush, then you're going to have a lot of unnecessary strokes, and you're not going to be pleased with that afterwards. So nice big brushes, as big as you can get. Actually, I think I'm going to get a little bit bigger of a brush. So I might even go up to a 10. I'd probably use a 10 to do a lot of background. So right now when we're doing this, I'm not going to be doing the background. I'll talk about it a little bit, and I'll probably touch some colors there. It's not really important. I just wanted you to see a little bit of the mixing. I know when we're in class, we're wearing masks, it's a little difficult to hear and to watch and get close enough. So that's why I did the little video for this. So the first thing I'm going to do is wet my brush with the mineral spirits. Again, if you're using acrylic, it has to be the open. You can wet it in the open medium, which is glossy, or you can dip it in water. It just needs to not be dry, and your brushes need to be nice and soft and pliable. If you try to, oops, that's going to be funny. If you try to use hard, stiff brushes, you're not going to be very pleased with the results. Okay, so the darkest darks, here's the actual drawing or the actual photograph, and here is the posterized version. So it really shows you a little bit more details of where the darks, but most importantly, how it transitions from the light all the way to the dark. These slight transitions, getting darker and darker and darker, half tones, shifts in value are these slight shifts are going to help make your figure or portrait look realistic. Okay, so I'm looking for the darkest darks. I'm sure you can see them. They're in her hair. So I'm going to start with, right here, I see a nice, very dark brown, and here's like some dark green. It's a little bit cooler. So dark brown with the red is warmer. And if I haven't mentioned it before, the warmer, that's what you always ask yourself, is it warmer, cooler, lighter, or darker? And because it's really in the dark right next to the ponytail, it's going to be cooler. It's not going to be so red. So I'm going to start here. And it looks really dark. It is really dark. But like I said, this is going to be the first, it's going to be the, it's going to be the base. It's going to be the block end. So you see, when I started painting, I started forgetting how to talk. And that's because I'm shifting from one side of the brain to the other. Always a very good thing. That's why they say painting is meditative. So we're going to start with this darker color. Again, this is a darker color that can be used in the background there and the background here. Okay, so I'm going to say, I'm going to add a little bit of red to that because it is pretty dark. So I'm just going to be taking from my darkest, coolest black and yellow ochre mixture. I added a bit of the red, kind of like mixing it together right there. And I just wanted to add a little bit of red. You can't really even see it very much. Okay, so I like that color. I'm going to add use a little bit more of the red, and I'm going to put it right here. So you see, when my paint starts to skip like that, and you see the canvas underneath, that means get more paint. So don't put your paintbrush in the mineral spirits. Whenever you do that, really get that mineral spirits out, because you'll get a watercolory effect. We want juicy paint. So you really need to wipe it down. I'm actually going to do it because I noticed I think it needed a little bit more. So I'm taking from the reddish color. I'm just making a little bit different from where the darker, cooler color is, the black and yellow ochre. There's a bit of glare here, hopefully you can see it, but you have your own copy. So I'm taking more of the red, just kind of going over here. And if this is too dark, that's okay. We're just looking for a base. Okay. I'm going to take a bit of this red and I'm going to put it right in this little, just a little bit there. Of course, my paint is covering this, so I'm not going to be able to do all of it. Okay. Okay. So we've got some really dark darks in there. Now we're going to get a little bit lighter. So the other option I have is this nice reddish brown color. So I would like to use that up here. So you'll see a slight shift in color. So this was the, after I had mixed the black and the yellow ochre, I got a deep green. So then I took some of that green and I added some red to it. It's amazing all the colors you can get. So I had this color here. I just realized, you know, oil paint's great. You can actually use some of this paint here. Got it here, and I noticed on the posterized version right next to the eye, because I just did the eye, there is a dark. So I'm going to very quickly put this in, and I forgot to actually do this in my transfer. But I caught it. That's all that matters. And I'm going to use a bit of this color here again. It's kind of nice because then it will dry faster if you get some excess. I'm going to go underneath the eye. Just a little bit right there. Okay. And while I'm at it, I think I will use some more color. I'm going to take that color again. I think it was the yellow leaning with the dark gray. I'm just going to double check by putting it in the same color I had before. And what was I going to do? Oh yes, her eyebrow. So her eyebrows are really not that dark. For some reason, everybody puts like really dark eyebrows on her. So her eyebrows are almost, it's like skin tone, but just a little bit greener. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna clean my brush out. I've shifted now to a very soft, like a sable, for these little touches there. So the areas are getting smaller, so I'm trying to find the brush that fits in there most. Okay, so we're gonna go to the next one, but I think I'm not going to. I think I wanna get the nose in first, because this color right on the cheek, the darkest color in the cheek, and the nose, they're more related. And it's better to stay where they're related. So let's just double check that this was the color we were using. Yep. So it's got to be here in the Cad Red leaning color. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add a little bit more Cad Red to this, because the nose is a little bit more intense. And there's some schools that paint the nose really bright red, like Cad Red. And then on top of that, they put the colors, and it's kind of what we're going to be doing. Okay. So basically just took this little pile of color here. Still, it's the mid gray tones, red leaning. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to put some color on it. So we don't have pink in our color here. So we're gonna have to make do. You know, you can't have everything if you're using a 3-color palette. Okay, so I've got her nose, which is a little bit redder than her cheek. Actually, I might wanna pop that just a little bit more in certain areas. A lot of times I put my finger on the painting, on the side of the painting, and then I use it to, it's just more steady for my finger because I can't do little points. So I'm putting a little point there of red. I think there's one down, but I'm gonna use a little bit more. Maybe I'm gonna use some Cad Red and be a little daring. Cad Red mixed with, and the blackish mixture, so it's quite a bit darker. So it's right there. So I took the area that had some black in it, it's a little bit left over, and you see it's a little bit redder. And actually that's going to be a perfect color for her lips. So right here on the end of the nose, it's a nice color there, red. And then right here it's a little bit redder. Add a little bit more. So there's not a lot of paint on here. You see I have not, just trying to keep it as red as possible because we tend to paint the highlights, and that's why I'm doing this in this process. Okay, so I'm gonna actually take this color and do the lips. So that was the red leaning pile that we made with right down in the black area, and then I added just a little bit more cad red leaning color to it. It might not be enough. I think I will do it a little bit darker. So I'm going to take this dark gray and see what happens. I'm going to add a touch. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Come up here. So I just darken it a little bit. Another way to hold, to make sure that your hand doesn't get too wobbly, is you put one hand here and then you can rest on the other. There's mahl sticks or using a paintbrush. Still think it could be a bit darker. I'm going to take this really cool color over here. That was black mixed, pure black mixed with cad red. It was a little too intense, so I'm going to add some that color to it. So it's very little tiny nuances, but at least using these piles helps you to get there a little bit closer. Okay, since I have this color, it's a little bit darker. I'm just doing the upper lip just a little bit darker. I'm also going to put it into the nose, the nostril. So nostrils are dark, but warm. I'm actually going to make it a little bit more warm with the cad red light. So lips, the inside of the lips, the crease of the lips, very warm. The nostril warm, the ear warm. Okay, so you have to have some red in the ear, not dark, and then also in the corner of the eye up here. So whenever I'm doing a color, I always look around, trying to see where the other colors are. But if you make the inside of her eye right there black or dark brown because you think you're doing the eyelashes, she'll look like a zombie. And I don't think my daughter would be so pleased about that. Okay, because I got that dark red, the cad red leaning with a little touch of black and maybe a touch of cad red into that, makes a nice burgundy color. I did all those areas there. I'm going to do her lower lip. A little bit lighter. So even though you don't see it so much, the lower lips are lighter generally. But we definitely want to at least have a differentiation between the top and the lower lip. And one thing I'm not so pleased that I did is that I left that little area here blank. So I definitely want you to not do that. Let's go back into it. So I'm covering that whole thing up. And then I'm going to take that red that I just mixed for her lips and the eye and the ear, and I'm going to pop it right onto her nose there. I'm going to pop some up here. Oops, that was a bit much. Okay. Look around. Do I see anything else that's red besides the ear? No, I think that's good. Yeah, that's okay. wiping my brushes off every single time. All right, so underneath the eye is a little bit darker than right here. It's not necessarily darker. If you squint down, the value is the same. It's not darker, but it's like cooler. So that's called, again, a half tone, very similar to this. So I'm probably going to go back to here, find out where it was in my pile. Gonna look for it. Was it here? Is it here? Yeah, it's about right here. I might even go in, check it there. Oh, that looks a bit too dark. So you see, I mean, I'm also trying to figure things out. I think it's going to be halfway in between. So I'm going to take a bit of this, go over here, tone it down, and then try this color. Okay. All right, I think that was too light. So I'm going too dark. So I'm going to take a bit of this color and I'm going to move it up one. So all I'm going to do is use the color that's right above it, because this area was too dark. Now I'm going to see if this helps. Hopefully I can go over it. If I can't, take the handy dandy wet wipe. You can put it on your brush, the brushy part or the hard part. Just kind of, it's a little tiny space there. So you can slowly just erase it. Because we're not going to leave something that is not right. And then we're going to paint back what we accidentally over colored. So I was here. I'm going to try this color. Was that it? Yeah, I think that's better. It's kind of coming down. Okay, so that's where I think I was. Where was I now? Finding that. I'm going to quickly put that in here. So we have a lot of places. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So that was this color here, just double checking. And right around the mouth is another half tone. So that means it's a plane change, because right where the lip starts to go up to form the lips, that's where the color, the value, there's a half tone. So it's not quite a shift in color, it's just a grayed down version of it. So half tones are not the full saturated color, but a grayed down version. That's why I really like this here, where we mix all these colors and we use the grays, not white or black or any of the pure colors out of the tube. We use these others, the mixed down colors, to change our colors, because it's just more gentle. So I'm just really following the picture here. I'm going over the colors. Making sure I'm covering up on my gray. Oops, accidentally got a little bit too there. Oh, we forgot the ear. I'll do that in a minute. So I see a bit of light right there, which is similar to the light up here. So I'm always comparing. I don't want to randomly choose a completely different color. And I know that was up here. I'm just going to double check. Pop it in here. There's always like a little light right next to the mouth. And matching it with here. And then there's a little bit right here, the philtrum. And then what I realized I forgot, I'm just gonna quickly put this on here. I'm trying to find all the places where I can see this cadmium-leaning light with white, where I can put it. So I have some here in the right there, right in the front of the lip, right here on the side. You can put it right in front of the cheek. Oh, there's one space right here, right next to the eye. All these like little tiny points of light make a huge difference. Okay, all right. And you know what, while we're here, we can actually take this color, since it's everywhere else, and we can put it right on the front of the nose. It's just a little there. We don't want to overdo it. Wipe it down because it's intermixing with the other colors. And then there's just a little tiny bit of light, but we're not really focusing on that too much, just as a marker. All right, so what we do need to do now, so I've got all those little things. We need to get into this area. So I've got that grayed down version. I'm double checking it's the same one. It runs along the lip and then right next to that light on the lip. These little things we don't see. And then in front, so then there's a little bit of a dark. And then on, I think I'm gonna go a little bit darker here. No, I'm gonna stay up there. I'm gonna go right here. Tiny, tiny brush. And then I'm going to go a little bit warmer because I didn't finish the bottom of the nose. Oops, a bit of a glob. So that bit of a glob can make her have a big schnoz. So I'm just wetting my brush, pulling it back, getting the handy dandy wet wipe. And this is a good reason why I have not done the front of the paint on the front. I'd hold off on that. You can see just a little bit of over painting really changes the shape of the nose. See, look how easy that is to remove. Now I have to repaint the bottom of the nose. So, I mean, you can keep the ear in. I can even scratch it out a little bit if I want to put more ear in, or just paint it on top afterwards. It's only a bit of ear showing. It's better not to paint around. Okay, I'm just going to put a bit of so that was the mid-gray version, the Cad Red leaning with a little bit reddish, a little bit more red. So we're going to quickly do the neck. So this color is, let's see, kind of like that, no, really close to that one, but a little bit more yellow. So that one, so we need to find this color tone. Where did we find that? Was that here? Test it, yep, that's it, but a little bit more yellow. So I'm going to come back, take this color here, move it over here. We don't want her to be green. And then test it. I'm going to test it to make sure it is a different color. Yep, it's definitely more, it's definitely more around the same value range. I'm gonna see, once you put it on, it always looks a little different. So what I'm noticing is I definitely have those, this is definitely gray down here and this is definitely gray down here, but it's a little too dark. I think this is making too much light on there. So now I'm coming back here and I'm going to make some final adjustments. So the real dark bit is right here underneath her cheekbone and then coming down under the chin. So that is here. So this is the darkest dark, okay? These, while I definitely need to have them, they're too dark because that looks really way too dark, all right? But it is definitely a halftone. So now we're gonna slowly adjust and that's gonna be pretty easy. How are we gonna do that? Well, we've got this color here. We're going to find out where was that color. I think it's around here. So I think it's right around here. Make sure. Yeah, it's right around there. Okay. So we've got this color. So this is the Cad Red, the red leaning pile mixed with mid gray. Yeah, I think we're going to use that one. And now I'm just going to keep this area. So just trying to make sure. So this whole thing goes in here. So I'm going to slowly add cover very gently because it's kind of mixing together. So you saw I flipped my brush over. Slowly going to come down. And now I'm going to wipe the brush off because the green had really mixed into the other color. I'm going to come around here, adding some flesh tone to that too dark color. Making very sure that when I'm touching other colors next to it, like I just did the hair, that I clean off my brush. Oh yes, she's starting to look more human. Soft, nice flat brush, right on the flat edge, coming down. Staying in the same color. Wiping off after a pass. This is where it pays off to have enough paint. Okay, so you see, putting one color over the other was an effective way to solve our problem. Okay, so now we're gonna do it a little bit more. So this was our color here. I'm trying to follow where I did all that. So, coming down. Dun, dun. Oh, I gave her a really long. Moving that around. So this is, if you make enough paint over here, it really makes a big difference in how much time you spend on it. Oops, I might have gotten a bit too much red with that. So basically I'm taking all those pretty intense colors and I'm toning them down. So it was too dark, too green. But this is a very effective way of staying within those values. This softening the edge. So this is why it's important to have very nice soft brushes. See how it's starting to make this movement. Still keeping the halftones. So I'm following it, I'm still using this. Oops, I see this color can come in a little bit. And that's the beauty of having the wet paint. You can just push and pull it.